So when you're ready.
During the period of 2000 to 2024, population is predicted to grow by 1.76 billion persons, according to the Urban Transformation of the Developing World in our stimulus packet. This population growth leads to increased air pollution, and I'm sure you know about the effects of pollution on the environment, but you may not be aware of all of them because the list is substantial. Hi, I'm Owen York, and I'm here to talk about urbanization and transportation and how they affect the environment. This brings me to my question. How can the environmental effects inflicted by urbanization and transportation industry be halted and rectified? First, the specific problems must be addressed. These include bioaccumulation, weather patterns, potential health effects, air pollution, rising sea levels, and depletion of the ozone layer. Urbanization has many effects on the environment, and the increase in construction and urbanization causes heavy accumulation and buildup of metals in the soil, known as bioaccumulation. According to the Journal of Environmental Services, the soils in Beijing surrounding heavily populated urban areas had a higher accumulation of metal. This can harm fertility, hurting the farmers and farm workers close to and around the cities. Not only does this accumulation hurt specific areas, but it can have widespread ramifications in the long term. Weather patterns are also affected by urbanization and transportation, as these urban areas can be hotter than the rural areas due to the air pollution. For example, as said by a study in 2000 by the National Wildlife Federation, the city of Atlanta, Georgia was 5 to 8 degrees warmer than the rural areas around it. It was also concluded that this immense amount of pollution has led to the development of an unnatural high-pressure system surrounding the city. This hurts the climate, as this is the case with many urban areas, and contributes to global warming, an ever-present issue growing in severity annually. This isn't exclusive to Atlanta, though. This phenomenon is present in many urban, highly populated areas. Upon the release of carbon dioxide and chlorofluorocarbons, the ozone layer is depleted, contributing to global warming. These chlorofluorocarbons come from increased urbanization and transportation. They are produced from factories, the burning of fossil fuels, and from household appliances that have increased in number due to the increase in population. Depletion of the ozone layer is potentially deadly for the future, as it protects us from the sun's harmful UV rays, and it will become less effective if it thins out. Rising sea levels are inevitable as well. The production of greenhouse gases and the burning of fossil fuels contributes to the issue of rising sea levels. According to Public Roads in the article Bracing for Hard Times Ahead, the National Climate Assessment predicted that sea levels would rise nearly 4 feet by 2100, depending on the amount of greenhouse gases that are produced in the years to come. It has been established that air pollution affects many aspects of Earth's atmosphere, climate, and soil, but what are the effects on us as we breathe in these emissions and this polluted air? Not only can these cause potential damage to your lungs due to the buildup of pollutants, but it can cause respiratory and cardiovascular diseases in the long term. There are a variety of solutions to combat this issue. According to the Solar Impulse Foundation, a car has been designed with a hydrogen-powered engine. It would be more efficient and less hassle than regular combustion engines and electric cars. What happens is hydrogen is added to the air-fuel mix for a more complete combustion of the fuel, resulting in less of an output of smoke. This does have its limitations, as people would need to buy these hydrogen-powered cars and take initiative to clean up the environment. In a couple of decades, environmentally friendly engines could be mass-produced and put into millions of cars. They just need to be implemented. The difficulty of implication would be minimal, as a cleaner, cheaper engine would receive mass support. There are more solutions involving transportation. For example, the higher fuel tax and higher parking fees. These two changes would not only work actively to reduce the congestion of urban areas, but encourage the use of public transportation. The public transport could then be converted to low carbon, and emissions would drastically reduce. The one limitation with this solution is the potential public backlash that comes with a change in policy and taxes regarding the public. People would object, but it could still be passed through government organizations and through a majority vote in Congress. This would be simple to enforce, as the fuel tax would simply be raised and the fines would be increased. Not only do solutions involve transportation, but energy as well. The burning of fossil fuels has detrimental effects with the high level of emissions put into the atmosphere. According to the speech to the UN General Assembly from our stimulus packet, Margaret Thatcher believes that the alternate energy sources would help in the reduction of air pollution. Nuclear power, she says, is the most environmentally safe form of energy. Limitations are more extensive for this solution, as nuclear power is an expensive option and meltdowns are still possible. Let's get to the pros of my solutions. The hydrogen-powered engine comes alongside many pros as it reduces the amount of carbon dioxide emitted from a standard combustion engine, and it's as easy to produce, if not easier. These engines are easy to implement and would significantly reduce air pollution produced by personal automobiles. Higher fuel taxes and parking fees are also valuable, as they not only reduce the desire to own a personal vehicle, but can help reduce traffic congestion of urban areas, reducing emissions released by vehicles. These regulations would also encourage the partaking of public transportation by the people. Green energy provides substantial benefits to the atmosphere, with nuclear energy being the most environmentally friendly. Nuclear power provides an exponential amount of energy while virtually eliminating greenhouse gases and carbon dioxide produced from the general burning of fossil fuels, common with plants in many urban areas. Nuclear plants have minimal effects on the atmosphere while providing a sufficient amount of energy. Let's move on to the cons. The hydrogen-powered engine is already designed, but mass production would be difficult as the foundation responsible for the creation of this engine doesn't have sufficient resources to start mass production. Higher fuel tax and parking fees are also a possibility, but there are some negatives regarding their establishment. Public disagreement and unrest could result if these are put into place, and they're put into place unfairly. The pros of nuclear energy are significant, heavily outweighing the cons, but the cons must be discussed. Nuclear energy does have some drawbacks, as it is expensive and there's a chance of a meltdown, which could result in the harm and release of chemicals on the land surrounding the plants. In conclusion, my research on the effects of air pollution with the ever-increasing issues of urbanization and transportation has led me to conclude that transportation and urbanization, compared with harmful emissions of carbon dioxide, cause the change in weather patterns, affect soil fertility, and can be potentially harmful to human health. Thank you for your time.
All right. How did you handle the differing perspectives in order to reach a conclusion?
So, on my research, I found differing perspectives from different organizations that have researched different areas, like urban areas and rural areas, and I found a perspective from farmers as well that were affected by this bioaccumulation that I mentioned from a source around the cities in Beijing. And I think all these different perspectives allowed me to incorporate it and make my solution more geared towards this environmental lens and how this air pollution does affect the environment and the surrounding areas.
Okay. So, what advice would you have for other researchers who are going to do this topic?
I'd say look more into the effects on the rural areas. I did look into them some, but I mostly focused on the urban, highly populated areas. And the rural area research would give a better perspective on how substantial this change actually is that comes with the increase in the construction of cities and the increase in the technology regarding transportation and these emissions, because you could compare the effects on the environment in these urban areas better to the effects on the rural areas.
Okay, thank you.